You what, mates? This is the T95 Doom Turtle. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on the patch 1.49 dev server, and we're trying out what I think a lot of people want to see. Oh my god. Alright, I'm trying to traverse while moving forward, and it is impossible. I am unable to do it. You have to stop or release forward momentum. Overpen. And yeah, you know what? Let's see what a 105mm high explosive does to a Panzer II. But yeah, so this is the T95 Doom Turtle. We're basically going to be looking at American tanks and armored vehicles because, quite frankly, not all of them are tanks. Some of them are tank destroyers. Some of them are armored half-tracks. And some of them are Doom Turtles. So, fire! That didn't do a whole lot. But regardless, the thing about the dev server is that a lot of times flight models, and I would imagine tank, whatever the equivalent is, tank models, not necessarily like graphically, but how they play, sometimes are based off placeholders. So yeah, it is interesting how you cannot traverse while going forward. But the traverse rate, this is in arcade mode, by the way, seems to be halfway decent. So there is that. But it's got 3 different kinds of rounds. You're gonna overpen a lot with this thing. This thing's got pretty good penetration, which I will show you off, but you know what? This is the Doom Turtle right here. So let's see what else we got. Because there's a lot of pretty cool tanks and armored vehicles that are gonna be in patch 1.49. Right now, this is only the dev server iteration patch 1.49.1.0. So things are subject to change. They're likely to add things. They may do some slight changes. Some vehicles you may have available, and then they'll take them out later. Has that fuel truck always been there? Oh my, hello there. So that was just a quick preview of the T95. We will be looking at it in more detail because we're gonna go down this there is a new tree. I would imagine it is tank destroyers, American tank destroyers. It starts off with the M2A2, which is a reserve, so you won't have to buy it, you'll already have it. The M2A2 is pretty silly looking. Then you get down to this half-track. You've got the M10 Wolverine, M18 Hellcat, M36 Jackson, which wasn't on the list originally when I made my first hype video, but now it is in the game, and then the T95. Let's take a look at all of them in order. So here's the M2A2. It is armed with one 12.7, 150 cal, and then one 7.97. Or 7.62. I don't even know why I said 7.97. I don't even think that's an actual thing. But yeah, so let's take a look at the armor. This thing's kind of funny looking. So it's got a 50 cal and a light machine gun. And it's got 15 millimeters of thickness about all throughout. And kind of wonky. I would imagine what? This is a 2-person? 4-person tank. Look at that. So you've got your 2 gunners. The commander's kind of serving as both the gunner for the 50 and the commander of the tank. You got a machine gunner down here, which is one of the machine guns that I don't think you can use. Let's take a look again. Yeah, only available to use the top 2 machine guns, not this one down here. And it's about 15.8 millimeters of thickness all around. That's probably not the tank you're here for. So we'll just move on. Now this thing is pretty sweet. So I would imagine let's take a look at its stats. It's got one 75mm cannon, and we'll take a look at the armor. You've only got 12.7 millimeters of thickness, and then 6 up here. So this thing's incredibly fragile. The thickest parts are your your bogey wheels there. Ammunition being held there. It's a 4 crewed tank, so let's see. I would imagine that they have, let's take it for a little test drive, try out the gun. And we've got some AP and some high explosive, the M72 and M48. So if you're a Sherman tank driver, those are shells you're very well acquainted with. And if you're fighting Shermans, you have been hit by those. So that's probably everybody who plays tanks. So you can see the crew right here. You can see the driver, the other guy there who's got a fantastic beard. Can we get a closer look? No, not that way. Sup, bro? Nice beard. This thing looks awesome. And you can see the crew animations for the guy cranking it. It's got a little bit of slow traverse. So we're gonna fire. Sounds pretty good. Now let's see how this baby moves. Now one thing is, you're gonna basically have to face the enemy. You can't kind of like strafe. You're gonna have to kind of strafe diagonally in order to do that. So switch to high explosive rounds. You can see that it does take a while to traverse, and it has a very limited view, right? So this thing will be pretty awesome, but it's the precursor to the other tank destroyers. I think I'm really excited for armored cars, and I'm all for like some of these half tracks. The Russians, you can see there was a pretty big arc on that high explosive round, and now we're gonna go back to AP, and then we'll take one quick look at this bad boy. It is looking fantastic. I mean, I'm very excited for this because I want to see armored cars. I want Pumas, and the British have a wide variety of pretty cool armored cars. The Americans got some decent ones. The Germans have a lot, whether they be like small cannons like 20 millimeters, 30 millimeters, stuff like that, all the way up to 50 millimeters, and even some that are packing these big howitzers right here. So that is the Tier 1 Battle Rating 2.3. All of this is subject to change. This is a reserve tank, so it's 1.0. And that brings us to the Wolverine. So this bad boy is packing, what are we packing right here? A 76mm M7 gun, so it's got a very good 76mm gun. And it also has the 50 caliber Medusa on the top there. Let's take a look at the armor. Not a whole lot of armor, 38.1. The thickest spot is 57 around, but the effective thickness on that, since it's sloped, is pretty good, 82 millimeters. And it's Tier 2 Battle Rating 3.3, so that mantlet is going to be, I think, going to prove pretty effective at that tier and battle rating. This one I'm not so hot about, but this lower part, pretty effective, 76. But this one, effective thickness only being about 56. So the side, it's very fragile. It is an American open-turreted tank destroyer. These things got very good guns, but they're a little more fragile. You can kind of think of them sort of like glass cannons. Maybe not glass cannons, but aluminum foil cannons. And you've got 5 crew members, one kind of dipping down there. Ammunition held on the sides of the tank, which are nice to shoot at if you ambush one, kind of like the Tiger. And it's got lots of detail. You can see the ammunition sitting in the back there. It looks really good. You got some tracks here, but who's really going to be shooting back there? But it is visually appealing. Take it out for a quick test drive to kind of get... Now, this is an arcade, and I know back in the day, back when I was your age, on these dev servers, they had lots of times planes had stand-in flight models, so people are like, oh my god, this plane's amazing, or this plane sucks. So just stock tank, traverse rate isn't too bad. It's not too quick. I mean, it's not going to be a Hellcat. Oh gosh, can you? I can't really wait. Alright. So, let's see. You can see the crew members there. You can see 3 of them. Can you see any of the guys below them? I don't think they modeled those guys in. No, they did. Wow. The level of details, guys. Man, this reminds me of when I was in Texas in the Sherman tank, man. Oh, that was so much fun. So, traverse rate wise, and you know, obviously everything's subject to change. It doesn't feel like it's going to be very fast, and obviously it's not very heavily armored. However, this cannon at this tier is going to be very effective. So, that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Wolverine. Let's see what else we got. Guess what's next? The Hellcat. I'm pretty excited for the Hellcat. And once again, I'm going to look at the Wolverine. So, battle rating of 3.3, Tier 2. And now we've got the M18 Hellcat, which is tier 3 battle rating 4.7. So it's not at that kind of difficult battle rating of 5.7. But, okay. This thing looks sweet. So it's got a 76mm M1 cannon as opposed to the 76mm M7 cannon. I would imagine this one is better. It's got its 12.7 on the top, so you're going to be able to deal with aircraft and infantry. Haha, I wish. So let's take it out for a test drive, and then we'll look over its armor. But quite frankly, I would imagine this thing not having... you're not going to use it for its armor. I'm really expecting high speed. I'm kind of nervous because, like... Now, if this isn't fast, I would imagine because it doesn't have the right tank performance stats, but let's see it. You know what? Let's get the engine upgrade. This thing's stock as dicks right now. I think that might be it. You never know. I've been using the M10. Everything's been stock so far, but this one I will upgrade. Modifications. We will get everything. That is pretty much everything. Turret drive. Why not? Suspension. There you are. There's my engine and transmission down there. Not yet. Alright, so this is what's going to be a fully armed and operational Death Star. Alright, I'm excited to see the difference. But then again, it is the dev server. And planes in the past have not performed how they do once the patch comes out. Oh man, I'm still nervous. So we're going to do this. Speed's a little underwhelming. Trying to shoot on the go. Yeah, so I guess I'm going to go ahead and say this isn't how the Hellcat's actually going to play in the game. But I tell you what, this guy up here, firing that 50, looks pretty cool. But, alright, well, let's check out the armor. So for right now, on the dev server, everything's subject to change. I'm going to give this the benefit of the doubt, and then, because it's patch 1.49.1, by the time we get, you know, because they usually come out in like 3 or 4 different iterations. And then, even once it's patched in, it's different as well. So, this thing is going to be changing a lot. I'm going to go ahead and say that right now. Thickness, 25.4 at its maximum. Everything else, 12.7. This thing can deflect, maybe, 50 caliber machine guns. So, yeah. This thing is weak. Fantastic gun. And I think, if they're going to put this in the game, they got to do it right. And they're going to have to add it with its proper speed. Because right there, that was not what the M18 Hellcat speed was like. Now we're going to take a look at the M36 Jackson. This bad boy is armed with a 90mm M3 cannon. So you go up from 76mm in the Wolverine and the Hellcat to a 90mm in a tier 4 battle rating 5.7 American tank destroyer chassis right here. So let's take a look at the armor. Pretty thin, especially thin for battle rating 4. But, oh, look at that. That's your strongest point. Don't ever shoot a Sherman there. Any kind of Shermans or American tanks, never shoot them there. I think that goes without saying. So your thickest is 76.2 in your gun mallet. That's really the only thing that can deflect shots because it's nice and rounded. So that's pretty good. But even still, at tier 4, there's going to be people who are going to shoot you there and are going to kill you. So you're going to have to play these things smart. Use the mobility, you know, be a sniper, stuff like that. So you've got 5 crew members. Ammunition is just everywhere. This thing's a powder keg ready to blow. But it's going to be fun to use that gun. So let's take a look in the test drive, kind of see the crew and things like that, because I think it's safe to say that the speeds and stuff like that, how they move, I don't think is accurate. That's been the way for planes. Yeah, and I've said that like 8 times, and I'm kind of more just like, it's okay. It is okay. So, this is the Jackson. You can see the 3 crew members and then maybe the guys below them. Yeah, you can see the back of that guy. And then the back of that guy and his legs. Oh, and some hands down there. So look at the level of detail, man. And there's the guy with the epic beard. He's back. Hello there, Baron. But this is the Jackson. A little heavier, a little slower moving. Boom. Overpenning a Panzer II. Got the 50 cal working. Can take out light tanks like Panzer IIs if you ever run into those. What you doing, mate? But, yeah. So, Jackson. Now let's check out the big boys. I imagine that the T-95 and the T-28, maybe the way they operate is a little more accurate because I don't think there's anything to base them off of. So this, oh my gosh, this is the T-28, basically the precursor to the T-95. You can see the similarities. This one a little wider, heavier armed. But this one a little narrower, but just as like big and bulbous in the middle. So the T-28 is a premium tank coming in at a battle rating of 6.3 in Tier 4. The T-95 itself is battle rating 6.7 Tier 5. Once again, all of that stuff probably subject to change. But let's take a look at the armor because I think that's what we're all most excited for. 292 millimeters of thickness. Holy shit. On the gun manlet. And then all this forward stuff. 305 millimeters of thickness. So aiming straight at this thing, you'd want to aim for that if you could see it, but it's pretty low to the ground. And when you see this thing coming at you, it's got a 105 millimeter gun, which can crack a lot. However, look at the sides, 50.8 all around on the sides, except for these little slanted parts. So you've got these nice big long sections to shoot through, and then even these are only 63. So it is a beast from the front, but it's a casemate style tank destroyer. Like you don't have a turret. So if something flanks you, you're pretty much boned. But if you play it smart, it can be a fun breakthrough tank, and it can also be pretty much an impervious sniper at long ranges if you find yourself a nice little nook. You're going to be limited in what you can hit, but not many people are going to be able to hit you back. So let's take a look inside of the tank. Yeah, these nice little side spots, there's just ammunition everywhere. So from the front, it won't really get penetrated. There's very few rounds in the game that could penetrate this thing at a reasonable distance. But when you flank this thing, you're going to be able to probably one-shot it if you know where to shoot. We're just pretty much right in here to kind of hit all the ammunition and some crew members and just blow this thing up. But you know what? Let's take it for a little test drive real quick. See how it looks. See how it sounds. Check out the 105 millimeter main gun right now. So, man, this is gonna be pretty awesome. 105 millimeter gun. This thing looks cool. It's like the baby Doom Turtle, and you've got the 50 cal, so you can deal with planes pretty easily. I mean, not pretty easily, because Tier 5 planes, Tier 4 planes, whatever. It's gonna be jets. Alright, so that... Where's the big guy? There you are. Side of the turret. At distance, I mean, this is... Wow, this thing even overpens that. Pretty long reload rate. But I mean, that's to be expected with the high tier guns. Pretty standard stuff. And then there's that 50 cal taking out the Panzer IIs. Gotta love it. So that M2A2 with a 50 cal can deal with Panzer IIs. Anyway, now let's get to the big boy. Actually, wait. This thing can sort of move. While going forward, it can traverse. So unlike the T-95, which is very select, and it's still got a limited range, but it does allow you to, if someone's flanking you, kind of deal with them. You can kind of do retreats, so you can kind of get your gun maybe a little quicker than the T-95 can. He's moving. But anyway. So that is the T-28. It is a premium though, so you can buy it right away. Returning to the hangar to check out the T-95, and then we'll take a quick look at the American aircraft. There's a few in there, and then a few that we didn't really kind of have any news or expect. So, taking a look at the armor, 305 millimeters thickness, and then 290. So right here would actually be your best spot, that flat ring at the very front of the gun mainlet. Everything else is pretty much fool's errand, or right down there. But it doesn't, you wouldn't, I don't know. I guess you could fragment up and hope to hit some ammunition. I don't know if that'd work. We'll have to test it out. So the T-95, the Big Daddy Doom Turtle, and since it's got 2 tracks, that's why you can't really traverse while going forward. Gosh, this thing's just a freaking juggernaut. So it's got the same 305 millimeters of thickness and the same 292-ish. There's this nice little soft spot, but it's 101 millimeters of thickness. So the sides of this, it's got some spaced armor there. I think this thing, wow, from the sides, this thing's really, really impressive. I'm not sure if these are spaced parts. Can't really see. Oh, wait a minute. So this is spaced armor right here. You got 50 in the middle. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, holy shit. So it's got 50 millimeters, and then these parts here are spaced armor. So shooting it from the side is gonna be incredibly difficult. You're gonna wanna shoot it up top. So you're not gonna wanna shoot it here. You're not wanting to shoot it here. You're gonna wanna shoot it right here, which is only 63.5 millimeters of thickness. But from the front, and even to a point from the sides here, it's going to be incredibly difficult. Here's going to be the weakest part of the tank that you're going to want to shoot at, or try to get under there and hope for some really good fragmentation hitting things. But this thing is an absolute beast. You've got those funny little armored plates on the front top there. And from the rear, it's going to be a very, very easy kill. And like I said, this thing cannot traverse while on the move. It has to come to us. You can't go forward, can't go backward, and then you traverse. But if you're using it as a sniper or kind of a breakthrough tank, you know, you're pretty much not going to have to deal with that. But it is going to be pretty interesting. This one has the same gun as the T-28. It is a battle rating of 6.7 in Tier 5. So when it comes to planes, there are a few new ones in here. I don't know what that is. But that's a Thunderbolt. That is a battle rating 5.7, as opposed to these ones, which are 3.7s. So I have no idea. I don't even think I'm supposed to be in here tonight. But let's take a look. We've got the P-51 with 420 millimeter cannons. It's the Cannon Mustang, the British one, but now the Americans have access to it. It is sitting here right before the Jugs, the P-47s. So Tier 3 battle rating 3.7. It's not the P-51s, and I think we're gonna have a P-51 D10 as well. Yeah, here it is. It's a bundle aircraft. Wetmore's P-51 D10, and then obviously there's the 82. Let's take a look at the armor here. It's got some nice 9.5 millimeter plates here. Pretty good. Wow. It's going to be difficult to shoot this guy. 40 millimeters. That's pretty awesome. Take a look at the internals. Single pilot. Let's take a look at the modifications of this. That's what I'm very curious about. To see what this thing can carry. You can take 2 Tiny Tims and 12 127 millimeter rockets. So 14 rockets. Or, let's see. You can take 2 Tiny Tims, 12 HVARs, and then 1 2,000-pound bomb, or 2 500-pound bombs. This thing's ordnance is just nuts. It does have torpedoes. Awesome. I'm very happy to see that it has the option for torpedoes. And it's got, how many does it have? 2 20mm guns. So this thing is going to be a beast. You know what? Look at that. There's the torpedo. Let's modify this bad boy. Let's take Let's do that. We got a 2,000 pound bomb, 2 Tiny Tims, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 HVAR rockets. We're gonna take this bad boy for a test flight in arcade because we just want to get up in the air. We just want to see some things blowing up. Holy crap. Oh my gosh, is that not sexy? I just wish Fly Daily was over there and Slickby was over there and Devil Dog and Bob were in their ships and I was gonna bomb them. That would be fun. So let's see. Oh my gosh, this wide wingspan. This thing's gonna be interesting to take off in you know, in realistic battles. So, 2,000 pound bomb, 2 Tiny Tims. Which rockets fire first? Not the Tiny Tims, so the Tiny Tims go last. Look at this bad boy. Holy crap. Bombs away, and you got 20mm guns. This is probably going to be the most fun round attack plane in the game. So we've got a little ATOL. This is where they did the nuclear bomb testings to really try to kill Godzilla. You know, historical facts right there. Can you just appreciate the power? It doesn't have a whole lot of cannons per guns. 320, 2 guns. So what, 160 rounds per gun? And those things went pretty quick. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is the new American tanks and aircraft so far in patch 1.49.1 on the dev server. So there's going to be some changes and it's going to be interesting. So stay posted. I've got a video on the Arado and a pretty funny Arado tactic with the old Arado. And then I've got an M18 Hellcat kind of hype video as well as a D-Day hype video. There's going to be a new map called D-Day. Actually, we can take a look at the maps. We'll save that for another one. We're coming in. Just imagine this thing flying over your base. Bombs away. Just wrecking them, man. And then you strafe them. Strafe the little tower. Dun, 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 dun. And you got that 40mm armored plate in the front. This is going to be a very fun aircraft. I cannot wait. So at any of those vehicles, if you find a fun custom battle idea, let me know in the comments below. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Baron. I thank y'all for watching. There's more links to other patch 1.49 shenaniganry in the video description below. Make sure to pull the trigger on the like button, share the video with a friend, and ladies and gentlemen, America. I'll see you soon.